Hey guys, Not So Sam right here. Just doing a little video on the specs and performance of the Z800 with the two Xeon X5672 processors and 24 gigabytes of DDR3 ECC registered RAM. So this is just the Windows, normal specs and score. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't really use the Windows score for much, but it's kind of cool to compare between, when you put different hardware in your computer, you can check it and see what the difference is. So this is HP Performance Advisor. I showed it a little bit in the last video at the end, and it's a pretty cool program. It comes free from HP. It's for their workstations, and basically it's like detailed specs in Windows and the device manager all in one, and it actually gives you like a little layout of your motherboard and what's plugged in. You can click on each thing, get the details, so it's really cool. And then also you can record the performance while you're video editing or doing whatever and play it back and see maybe where you're lacking or what programs using what resources, maybe what you could change to improve your performance, or what you have too much of. If you got way too much RAM, you're not really using it, So this is the part I was telling you about. It shows you exactly what's plugged into each socket. All my RAM slots are populated, so it shows one in all of them. And when you click on it, it gives you the detailed specs, and also for the processors in each socket. It shows you how many cores and how many threads it's running. So it's pretty cool. I mean, especially if you don't know a lot about computers, you can kind of see how it's laid out and the detailed specs of each thing. It shows you your PCI card. That's my GTX 970. Actually shows you which monitors are hooked up, which is really cool. And it shows you the CPU or GPU usage. So, I mean, I wouldn't really use that to monitor it while I was in a game or something, but it's kind of cool. So it even shows, if there's anything populated in all my SAS drives, which I'm not using. It shows all my SATA drives. It doesn't show my, the one I just clicked on is my PCI Express to SATA 3 6 gigabytes card that I have in there that I'm using for my SSD for my boot drive. That way it's a little quicker. So it doesn't actually show that I have the boot drive hooked up, which is an SSD, because it's on that card. But these are my other two storage hard drives. One's a 1 terabyte, the other one's a 2 terabyte. I store all my videos and things like that on. The 1 terabyte I store all my programs, installed games, things like that on. So it shows you your BIOS version and all that good stuff, and what's enabled, what's not enabled in your BIOS. So it's a really cool program just for having all your detailed specs all in one place, instead of having to go to different places in Windows. And this is basically the same information, just in a straight layout, instead of having the clicking on each socket. You can just go in here and look at everything individually. So it's a really cool program, though. If you have an HP workstation, I would definitely recommend getting it. And this part is basically the exact same as like your device manager in Windows. That part that I just had up. This is all that was all the RAM slots and everything and what they're populated with. This is the device manager basically, like in Windows, except for it's a little nicer looking, but it gives you all the same information. But I definitely prefer this program over, going to different spots in Windows to find all the same information. It's all in one spot, and it looks a little nicer. It's a dark theme, so, it looks cool. Alright, and this is the part where I was telling you about, where you can actually record your system performance while you're actually using it in everyday, stuff like video editing, playing games, whatever. And it'll actually show you, what your usage of everything is, and maybe you can find, something you might need to improve on, or something you have too much of. Like if you got 96 gigabytes of RAM in here and you're only using 5% of it, with everything you do, and you never go above that, you're kind of wasted a little bit of money on all your RAM. So, things like that, it's pretty cool little program. I mean, for everyday usage, I don't think I'd use it too much, but, it's cool. And I'm going to run a few benchmarks. This is Cinebench. I'm going to run the 3D benchmark and then the CPU benchmark, and just to show you. The 3D benchmark's more for gaming, uses more your graphics card. So if you're all you're doing is video editing and you don't have a good graphics card, there's no point in really running this one. For me, it was just cool to run. I got a pretty decent graphics card, so it got like 80 something frames per second, which is cool. It's whatever, not a big deal, but it's something. Alright, the next one I wanted to run, I'm going to run is the CPU benchmark, and the main thing I want to point out with this one is it's more concentrated on like video editing, rendering, and the more cores you have, the better, and the faster those cores are, the better. So the one thing I wanted to point out here is, after this runs, is you can see the scores on the left, and for video editing and rendering, it does better than like an i7 4770K, which is, I believe, like a $300–400 CPU, and that's a great CPU for like gaming, because that uses mostly single core performance. But when it comes to like video rendering, picture rendering, editing, things like that, they don't compare to having multiple quad or 6 core processors, and even the 2.67 gigahertz dual 6 core processors beat what I have, which is 3.2 gigahertz quad core processors, and doing things like this. So eventually I'm going to get 2 6 core processors, but they're pretty expensive. And I want to get the 3.2 gigahertz or 3.4 gigahertz 6 cores, which they're like $200 a piece right now. So eventually I'll throw a couple of those in there in the HP water cooling system, so I can get even more performance. But for now it works really good. Still works better than having like a single i7 4770K or something like that, for rendering and editing, which was the whole point. If I was building a computer just solely for gaming, I probably wouldn't have went this route. I probably would have just bought a motherboard, processor, RAM, and thrown the 970 on that, and been able to game on it just fine for around the same price. But whenever you want to video edit and things like that, you definitely need the extra processing power. So, all right, then this benchmark is it's more for your GPU also. So if you want to skip this one, go ahead. But I just went ahead and ran it. I didn't run it on ultra. I ran it on high, because that's where I ran it before. When I ran it before with the Quadro 600 graphics card that I had, and it was a 1 gigabyte graphics card, I got an average of like 4 frames per second. So I wanted to go ahead and run it again and see what I was getting. So I ran it on high, with all the other settings the same as you see them there. So and I actually let it run for a couple minutes just to monitor it before I actually started the benchmark. So I'm going to skip to where I started benchmarking right now. Alright, so this is where I started the benchmark. And if you don't really care about the GPU and stuff like that, if all you're worried about is the editing performance and encoding performance, then go ahead and skip past this. It's about 4 minutes long, so if you want to skip past it, go ahead and skip it. Alright, so here's the end of it. Not sure how well this compares to, you know, other PCs, but I got a score of 2184 and an average of 86.7 frames per second. Before, with the Quadro 600 1GB card, I got an average of 4 frames per second. So I'd say it's a little improvement over that anyway, you know, for gaming. You know, I wouldn't use that card for gaming though, so. Alright, so the next benchmarks I ran, I didn't want to run too many benchmarks and make the video super long, but next benchmarks I ran was the AIDA 64, or AIDA 64, the CPU Queen, and just the memory read and write test. So, just to, I mean, I don't know how they compare either. It tells you kind of where they sit, but, you know, I don't really run a lot of benchmarks on all my machines, so I just wanted to kind of do these because it's such a powerful machine for the price, you know, with the dual quad-core processors and everything. So, I mean, it's just, it's kind of cool to see where it stacks up against, you know, us other machines with a processor that costs as much as I paid for this whole machine, you know, so. Alright, and these next two tests, the one I just did, and the next one is just the memory read and write, and I'm not even sure why I did them, you know, because, you know, it's pretty decently speeded memory, but it's not like I'm overclocking my memory and using 24, you know, DDR3 2400. It's ECC RAM that's made for, you know, steady registered, you know, it rechecks itself all the time. That's what error correcting memory is, and, you know, it's not made for super fast performance. It's made for stability and performance. So alright, so that's it for the benchmarks. Now what I'm going to do is encode a video that I actually put up. I'm going to be putting up right before this one, and it was about installing the RAM and the CPUs in the Z800. It was a 24-minute long video, 1080p, 30 frames a second, and I'm actually going to select the highest quality I can, and see how long it takes to encode the video. So here's the presets, 1080p, 30 frames a second. And I selected the render at highest quality, which I normally wouldn't do on my laptop before I got this PC, because it took an extra half hour to an hour for a 10-15 minute video. So, and I always save the output to where I have all the original video files, that where everything's in one spot. It's a little easier to keep track of. So. And plus, Adobe Premiere is running off my SSD, and I don't want to take up all that space saving the video files to there. So the only thing I save is the project files, which just tells you, you know, tells in Adobe where the video files are at and stuff like that. So, yep. Now I was just kind of looking through the settings to make sure I didn't miss anything. And renaming my preset, that way I can have it from now on, you know, to where it'll always encode the videos the same way. That way I don't have to worry about it. I can just select that preset and hit go, you know, and it should save everything the same way. So, but I'm not going to sit here and make the video the whole length of it, but I'm going to start it right now just so you can see. When it first starts encoding, it'll in the bottom right hand corner, where my mouse will be here in a second, I'll circle it for you right there. It'll go down and down and down as the CPUs ramp up, and then it'll kind of stay steady and then count down from there. So we'll watch that for just a second, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the video and come back when it's almost done. That way it's not like super long. It's already almost 20 minutes long. So Alright, and here you can see it's almost done. And this video was 24 minutes long. I rendered it at the highest quality, and on my laptop, you know, it was a dual core, it was a quad core that ramped up to 2.9 gigahertz with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it would have taken probably, I'm guessing, probably close to 4 or 5 hours to encode this video. So, and the total time on this one's less than 18 minutes. You know, when it's done, you'll see there's only a couple minutes left, or a couple seconds left. And, you know, for me, that's well worth it, you know, plus the gaming performance of this PC. So, you know, I can encode a video that's 24 minutes long in less than 18 minutes, or right around 18 minutes, you know, at the highest quality. And once I get the two 6-core processors, it'll be even faster, you know, but for now, this is fine. You know, it plays games great. I get it, you know, an average of around 100 frames per second in Battlefield 4 with everything on high and ultra, and, you know, I can encode videos super fast. I can render 3D videos, you know, and to me, it's just, you know, well worth it for the money. You know, it's better than building your own PC with one processor. You know, like I said before, if you're only playing video games, you might as well just build your own PC with a single processor that's as fast as it can be, quad core, you know, and put 8 gigabytes of RAM in it and a GTX 970, and you'll be set, you know, for video games. But if you're gonna edit videos and things like that, this is the way to go. So, but if you guys like this video, give me a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know. You know, I don't mind answering questions. If you guys want to see any more information on this HP Z800, let me know as well. You know, I'll put up whatever videos you want to see. So, have a good one.